All right, testing, 1, 2. Um, so I'm just gonna sit here and play around with Git Worktrees inside of OpenAI Codex. So last week I made a video about using Git Worktrees, and literally the day after that, OpenAI released Codex, the application, and it supports work trees as a first class citizen. So I thought I'd jump in and just like play around with it and see how it works. I've actually been using this quite a bit over the last week, and it's changed a lot since they released it. So I just want to try to finalize my thoughts here on just kind of showing people how to use it, and then I'll go back and like put a video together. So this is really just more like a hang, and you kind of watch me mess around if you want. But at some point I'll actually have a video that you can watch that kind of concisely sums up how this stuff works. So the workflow that I did with people last week on the video was basically what I want to do this week as well. So I have just like this simple HTML and JavaScript set up, and you can see it's just like an HTML body, and script actually doesn't have anything in it yet, which is what we want. So the whole idea behind Codex Worktrees is that we're going to need to just basically take what we've learned about Git Worktrees and apply that inside of this application. So in order to do that, we'll need to get init, and let's do just a git add, git commit, and okay, so we're good there. And then now we have a baseline. What we can do is go into the Codex application, select a project, and then we've got local. It's asking me to create a Git repo, but we already had one. Must have been a little out of sync with my file system. So this is the terminal inside of Codex. It doesn't render all of my glyphs that I have set up in the terminal as I would expect, and that's something I need to sort out at some point, but it's just not a big deal. But you'll see little things that look strange. Yeah, okay, cool. So we're the same here. Nice. Okay, so the way that you start up a Git work tree, like last week we talked about doing things like Git work tree add, and then other things. You can go reference that in the video, but Codex will actually handle all of this for you. And one of the reasons I like it is that you don't end up like manually polluting your sort of local file system with like an umbrella directory that you don't really need, and then like multiple work trees that you end up manually managing and are actually just sitting in your workspace. So instead of doing any of that, it'll obfuscate all of that away. What we do when we want to start a new thread, we've got like our threads over here. So these are like projects over here on the left hand side. And I guess like in the video, I should probably just orient on the UI. Okay, so when you want to start a new thread inside of your project, you can select from these things. By default, it's just going to work on your local project, and it'll work in like whatever branch you select. Instead, we're going to go to new work tree, and it's going to create a copy of your local project to work in parallel. And some of this other stuff, for the purposes of this video, you can ignore, keep this at defaults. We don't have a special environment here. This is really cool though. Super powerful once you dig into it, but I won't do that here today. And then we could set whatever branch we want to work from. For purposes of this video, again, we're keeping it super simple, so we're just going to work from main. And then let me pull out that mind map from last week. So in the last video, I had this mind map that we were working from, and the only reason I'll pull it up is that I want to grab just the same prompts just to prove that these things work the way we expect them to. So on one work tree, we're going to ask the AI to handle the UI side of things. So I'm going to get that going. And then over here, I'm going to create a new thread. I'm going to have it make a new work tree. This is basically the same thing, right? So, but we're not having to manually manage the work trees. So I'm going to put the prompt in here, and this is going to work on its own work tree over to the side. Is it just me, or did the first one disappear? Do I have to wait for it to do things before it persists? Very strange. Maybe those threads will show up once they've finished doing something. I'm not sure that I've created a thread before and then clicked away from it so quickly, so I don't know if I feel like I've just run into some sort of bug with the app. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna try quitting the Codex application real quick. This is local threads running. It sort of implies that something's running, but for what I asked, that stuff should be done by now. Okay, let's yellow quit. Okay, so quitting and coming back. So this is clearly some sort of bug. This is also new. I don't think this was here before I refreshed the app, but I haven't seen these pins before, so that's nice. Because like eventually you can end up with like a ton of different threads, just like this here, and eventually you'll get like a show more if you have a whole bunch. So, anyways, over here, if I click into this one, I can actually pop up a terminal that's with the Command J. I guess in the view or window, where is it? Never mind, Mac apps don't put anything in the menu bar anymore. All right, well, anyways, it's somewhere there's a UI affordance to open this thing up. Oh, here it is. So there's a button over here. If you want to toggle the terminal open, you can just push this button, but Command J on, at least on my Mac, it's Command J. So here we go. We've got, let's see what we've got in this work tree. So we'll do cat. This one was working on index.html, and, or was it? No, it was not. It was working on the script. So let's see what it wrote in the script. Okay, so the script previously was empty and now it's not. So there we go. That's nice. And you can look over here on main. You can see that in main, nothing has changed. So in our canonical repo, it's still just like it was, but the work tree now has work done to it. And then let's have a look over here at the HTML. Again, I'm going to do Command J to open the terminal, and then let's just have a look at what has changed in index.html. Just a little bit of HTML here, a few elements added. And over here to the side, you can see the diff, so you can toggle the diff panel and it toggles all of this stuff. The presentation of this, I feel like it feels, no matter what size I use this app at, this always feels a bit cluttered. It's interesting to me because it kind of inverts what you might expect from an IDE, where you have a file system, like, and then your code, and then maybe to the far right of that, normally you would have a chat. It's almost exactly backwards, where it's like you have chat management, chat, and then like code, and then file management to a certain extent. It's not really, I don't think you manage anything from here, but you can at least see it. So anyways, I haven't quite figured out how to get a lot out of this view over here. I tend to sort of just work, if I need to see something, I'll either go to my own terminal or I'll open up VS Code. But anyways, if you do want to know what's changed without doing things like cat or whatever, it is over here for you to see. So we're going to take this now and start merging these back into main. That'll be the final part of the video. And this is the part where, again, since we're live streaming, this isn't meant to be like a authoritative guide in any sort of way. It's just me playing around. There are two paths to doing this that I'm aware of, and I think they're two different ones. We're going to try them both right now just to see what they do. So first one would be just do a git commit here. So you can either run like your git commit right here in the terminal like you would normally do, or you can just ask Codex to handle it. And for the purposes of demonstration, we're going to ask Codex to do it. This looks great. Let's commit it. Then I want to merge from this work tree back into our canonical main branch. It should go without saying that you want to make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on whenever this thing is, any agent is working on your behalf inside of Git, because they could potentially do all sorts of damage. I was sort of expecting this Codex to ask me about it. Like for a lot of Git operations, it will ask, but I guess let's find out what it does. But it could be that for like the read-only ones, it just reads and doesn't ask. Here we go. So here's a question. Do you want to allow staging this file so I can create the requested commit and merge it? So yes, what it's trying to do is do a git add and then the file, which is super normal operation. So when it asks you something like this, you'll get three different options. Usually you'll get yes, yes, and don't ask me again. I'd love to know what this don't ask me again is scoped to, and I currently am not sure about that. So I tend to be pretty careful about that one. And then I could just say no as well, but we're gonna say yes. And it'll add, and then it's gonna commit with a message, and we'll go ahead and say yes to that too. And you can see over here all of the diff stuff now that we've added and committed. There's nothing that's unstaged or staged. It's all been committed into this work tree. Do you want to allow merging this new commit into the canonical main work tree? So we saw a little bit of this in the last video, but this dash capital C is going to say, hey, git, run as if you were running inside of this directory here. So this directory is the same directory that we have over here. So if I do pwd, you can see that these two match. So it's going to be running git as if it were sitting in this directory. And it's going to do a fast forward only commit for, let's see. Oh man, okay, that's wild. So I just hit enter in the terminal and it seems to have registered and enter for both the terminal and the chat. Okay, so I don't know what to do with that other than say that must have been a bug as well. But anyways, that's fine. Nothing dangerous would have happened in this particular situation, but you can imagine that would be terrible in other situations. So I don't know. Maybe don't do a lot in the terminal while this thing is like while Codex is asking you questions. But anyways, well, all I was going to explain is that it was trying to pick up this commit here, and then fast forward it merge it to the canonical main. So if here our current git status is clean, over here we should have that new commit added, right? This is the same hash that it was showing us a second ago. Pretty cool. So far so good. Okay, so now we can come back over here. This is the other chat that we had going on a different work tree. And I said that there were two ways to do this. I just showed you sort of like the Git-esque way to do it. You know, you take your work tree and you do a git you add and then commit, and then from that you do a merge. There's another way, and again, since this is such a new app, I'm not super familiar with all of the what's going on under the hood, and this app changes at least once a day. But there is this handoff to local. This button seems to change names all the time. I haven't really seen rhyme or reason why it does yet. But anyways, if I push handoff to local, let's see what happens. So it'll throw up this modal that says handoff changes between local and this work tree. So local being this current, local being our canonical local sitting over here. So we have two options. One is we're going to, we want to merge this into local, right? Again, our canonical repo. So we know we want it to be a to and not a from. I guess if we were going to do a from, we could pull in that latest commit that we just merged into this work tree. That's a workflow that makes sense, but like not really what I'm trying to demo here. So we're going to take this and merge it in, and we have two different options. We can overwrite local and we can apply. It's interesting because the UI heavily implies that we should be doing overwrite and not apply. And for some reason that strikes me as dangerous. I mean, it's just the word overwrite. So what I want to do is have a look inside of their docs. Which aren't being updated as frequently as the app. So there have been some disconnects before, but I just want to see. So I don't remember this being here before. I'm curious about this. You'll have an option. Okay, we're going to come back to this in a second, but I just want to see what that is. So if you choose option 1 above, work on the work tree, once you have created a branch from the work tree, an option appears in the header to add the work tree to your sidebar. I don't see that. They refer to header a lot in the docs so far, and I think that is meant to refer to this. Maybe it's because we're not on a branch. It does say that. Okay, so there is probably some permutation of actions you can take that would then get you a directory up here that is your work tree, but you would need branches apparently. I don't know. Honestly, so one thing to keep in mind is like these work trees are just sitting inside of your file system anyways. Presumably I could just open work trees over here in the sidebar, but I don't know. Again, like this is a level of one, this kind of feels a little bit edgy in terms of like things that'll probably change by tomorrow or the next day in the app. Here we go. Okay. If you don't want to verify your changes directly on the work tree and instead sync them out to your local checkout, click Sync with Local in the header of your thread. Okay, so this is definitely the header up here. And then we get this modal. Overwrite makes the destination checkout match the source checkouts files in history. Apply calculates the source changes since the nearest shared commit and applies that patch to the destination checkout. Yeah, so apply seems like the right answer. I'm really curious why overwrite ends up being the one that we're pushing here. Let's see. Maybe it says something about that. You can create multiple work trees and sync them to the same feature branch to split up your work into parallel threads. In some cases, changes on your work tree might conflict with changes on your local checkout. For example, from testing a previous work tree. In those cases, you can use the overwrite local option to reset the previous changes and apply your work tree changes. Since this process uses Git operations, any files that are part of the Git ignore won't be transferred during the sync process. Okay. Again, there's some of this that feels a bit vague still. And if I'm honest, like generally speaking, the only way that I handle this stuff is directly in Git and not using this button. But for the purposes of demonstration, we'll use the button for now. It says we successfully applied the changes, but you can see here our Git in the work tree is still dirty. So you're not actually cleaning that up as you go. That might be okay depending on what you're hoping to do. But anyways, let's see what we've got here. So let's try a git log real quick. No git history. Right. So what it did is just do an apply, and then it's up to us to merge these ourselves. So we could do just do that. Okay, and we're good there. And then we'll run my simple HTTP server. Grab this. Let's see if these two things actually did something. They did. Okay. So in the shorter version of the video where we're not really exploring, just trying to be kind of clear about what we're showing off, like we'll get to this part a lot quicker, but the idea is that, again, what did we do? Just like last time, we split off into two different work trees. These work trees don't know about each other, and we have two agents do two different work on two different areas of the application, and then we eventually, through some means, and we saw two different ways to do it, we bring them back into the canonical repo and merge all of it together. So the whole idea about this is, again, like you want to be able to, in some situations, like run multiple agents at the same time. And this will enable you to do that. So this is, of course, if you haven't seen the video from last week, like that one shows you how to do this in just raw Git. And like, so in other words, like you wouldn't have to be in the Codex app, you don't have to be a customer of OpenAI in order to do work trees and have agents working in parallel on your code that way. But since Codex happens to have come out with this and I use Codex a lot, I wanted to show this off. So anyways, I think I've got some thinking to do about what to actually show in the video, because some of the stuff, like I said, is around the edges is changing a lot. What hasn't changed, so far has just been like a lot of the basic interactions and setup with like how you chat with your agent. But again, when it comes to work trees, I have noticed the way to set that up has changed 2 or 3 times in just the first week of this app's existence. And whereas the docs were changing less, but I did notice today when we scrolled through that I'm seeing a bit more information about how to use them. So I might go check that out and see if there is anything else to learn before I make the video. Yeah, I think these 2 top level options for how the app kind of gets you into a work tree is obviously going to be critical. So that initial setup is something I want to spend a little bit of time thinking about before I make the video. So I think I've got some homework to do. I'll probably just turn off the feed for a bit. But if you happen to be watching this in the future, like, this is just me prepping for making a video. It's just exploratory. So if you want like the actual verdict on how this works and all of that, sometime in the near future, I should have a video for you on the main feed. All right, thanks for checking this out.